as a mom as well, I can even get choked up even thinking about it. It's so life-changing on so many different levels when you have a child. The arc of a human you become, you change.
I had lovely best friends around me and they came to visit me, but they didn't have kids. And so there was a feeling of a deep yearning to connect with other moms, but I needed to feel that solidarity of, I hear you, I know, I also experienced that. What I really wanted to feel was this deep drive to wake up in the morning and get busy. And I have that. So the vision is that most of the articles in the shop are bought by local mamas, and then they are used for a while and then brought back in, assuming they're in good condition.
Oh, wow. Hello and welcome back to the Why Are You Here podcast with your host, me, Abby Ribeiro. I'm so excited. Today, my guest is Kate King, who is from Northern California. She is a mom of two. She is a local community builder, and she owns Arco Pre-Love for pre-loved clothing and toys, and the Arco Collective, where she runs community events for moms and locals here. And she is a huge part of this community here in Lagos, and I can't wait for you to hear everything she has to say. So here we go. Okay. Hi, Kate.
Hey.
Welcome to the pod.
Thank you.
Your first podcast.
My first podcast ever.
This is very exciting. Okay, well, we're going to make it fun, so no worries. So, Kate, I want to start with why are you here? Because that's the name of the podcast. So I first want to know, because I genuinely do want to know, you have been in Lagos for 6 years now. And I really just want to know, and everyone wants to know the story behind how you got here. I know you're originally from Northern California. So tell me about that.
Yeah. So I was 22 when I left the States. And at that time, I was very much post college. I wanted to backpack and just travel the world. I had no plans. So I actually took a small backpack and traveled 13 countries over 1 year.
Oh,
by myself. Yeah. With the freest spirit. I mostly stayed with locals and like just ate empanadas, and it was amazing.
Wait. Hold on. Okay. Because I know that's actually a very common thing for like Australians, for example, that I've met a lot of them here that travel for like 13 months or 15 months. But that's not a common American thing. So I need to know why. Where did that decision come from? Where did the idea come from?
I don't remember where it came from, but I've always had a traveler spirit. So my parents are from London, and they were immigrants to California.
Okay.
So they had my brother and I there. And I've always had a connection to Europe through them. And then I don't know, honestly, where the idea came from, but I knew when I graduated college, I didn't want to just go to do what everyone does, which is like go find a local job and, you know, get in the rat race of American life. Of course, like I was very ambitious, and I knew that eventually I would work hard and do something career-wise, but I didn't want to go right into that. I'm so glad I didn't, because I had the most amazing year. And
I mean, I can imagine. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, a lot of adventure, good times. Basically what I took out of it. I mean, I was in Europe for 5 or 6 months, and then South America for about 6 months.
I mean, I have to ask you what your favorite place was of the year.
I mean, I loved the region outside of Girona in Spain.
Okay.
So like that region of Spain, I volunteered at a farm there. I love that. And then I really fell in love with Rio de Janeiro.
Really?
So I spent actually 3 weeks there. And I think the reason I had such a good time there was because I stayed with a local girl. I think she was like 20 and I was 22. And it was her and her mom, single mom, and this one single like daughter. And I was couch surfing at the time. So like that was really big.
Did
back
you find
in 2008.
It via like couch surfing, that website? Okay. Yeah.
I don't even know if it's still around these days, but
I don't either, actually. I mean, I remember people using it. I just don't know what the status of it. We'll have to look that up.
Sure. Long story short is that I stayed with her, and she just showed me her whole world. Like she was like, come with me. My friends and I are going to the cafe. We're going to go watch a football game. We're going to go to a samba. Like they're just living her life. And of course, how could you not fall in love with that life, you know, as a 22-year-old girl? At that point, I met my ex, who is my kid's dad, and we were a new couple. He's actually from Angola, so he's Portuguese Angolan. And he said to me at the time, like, in a few months, I'll be finishing my pilot's license, a degree, and then I need to go back to Angola. And I said, okay, like, let me just quickly check where that is on the map.
Where Angola is. That's so American.
It's so ignorant. I mean, I'm not a typical, geography, ignorant person.
Either.
But I mean, it's just at the time I didn't know much about that part of the world.
Did you meet in Rio then?
No, we actually met in Florida because I was visiting family there mid trip. Yeah.
Okay.
So he said, let's go, will you come back with me home for him? And I said, sure, cool. At that point, everything was just on the table for adventure, right?
Right, of course.
Yeah. And so I moved there for 2 years.
Angola?
Yeah.
Wow, Kate, what was that
like?
What was Angola like?
I lived in, so it's hard to speak about Angola as a whole because it's a big country.
Right.
I think it's 2.5 times the size of France. Excuse me if I'm off, but it's big. However, I lived in the capital, Luanda, which is a really huge, sprawling, African city. Right. And at the time, the economy was really strong. So in that way, it was amazing. I earned well. I got a job right away at a little environmental consulting company, which is perfect. It was like a mom and pops, the size of this little office.
Did you have a degree in
environmental policy?
Okay, so you knew that was
that stuff was totally consistent with my studies.
Okay.
But I didn't speak Portuguese yet. However, I spoke Spanish, and I knew I was going to learn Portuguese soon. I just dove right in. And I never took a class ever. I never studied. It just sort of transferred from Spanish, right?
We have that in common.
You have that in common.
I've never taken a Portuguese class.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because actually, if you already speak enough Spanish, then you can just sort of adapt it. Which
that's what I did. I had
Portuñol. Yeah, for a long time. Now it's the opposite. I can't speak Spanish anymore.
Me too, Kate. Yeah. I'm exactly the same.
I went to Sevilla last month, and I sound so goofy in Spanish. ¿Cómo estás?
I sound crazy when I speak Spanish as well. I sound portuñol. And also I feel like I went back to Sevilla. So I lived in Sevilla. And when I went back to visit friends, I lived there before I lived here. And one of my Sevillano friends had said to me after I was in Portugal for a while, in Spanish, he was like, ¿Qué te pasó? You sound like you're gallega. You sound like you're from Galicia. What are you saying?
Right?
And I was like, I don't know. And then years and years go by, and now I just can't process my brain in Spanish. But yes.
Yeah. So that's what happened to me. I learned Portuguese in Angola, but it was quite hard for me also. It was a hard experience.
Sure.
And I actually got married when I was there so that I could
in Angola
get a visa. Yeah. So I had a civil registry office African wedding. Which we planned a week before.
How was that?
It was wild. There was no AC, and we just crammed a few folks into a little office. Waiting around a lot for the civil servant to sign, to show up and sign the papers. It was a whole wild thing.
Amazing adventure.
Yeah, in a dusty neighborhood outside of the center where they did these services. Yeah.
How old were you
I was 24?
24. Okay.
Yeah. And then after that, I was a bit tired of living in that reality. It's very loud and dusty.
Right.
I like clean. I like calm. I am a Northern California hippie girl, nature girl at heart. So I applied for a master's degree in Sweden and got accepted and went. And of course, my husband at the time, he was able to work a month on, a month off, and he would just come join me every month. It was insane. So we did that for 8 years.
And why Sweden? Why did you apply in Sweden?
I think I needed something completely different than Angola.
Sweden, I feel like if you could pick the complete opposite of Angola from what you've described, I've never been there, Sweden would probably be it.
It was exactly that, Abby. For better and worse. So when I first got there, it was it's so clean, it's so fresh, it's so quiet. Yeah. I was loving all those things. But after a while, I started to miss the joy, the alegria, the mangoes, the beauty of Angola.
Adventure, a little bit of a wild,
wild Sweden
spirit.
Is, very cold, and a lot of gray, you see gray, you feel gray.
Totally, yeah.
But I did stay for 8 whole years. So there was reason for that.
It's funny because I went to Sweden for a week when Arlo was a year old. And also I have very dear Swedish friends here. I love them. But I felt very similar when I went to Sweden. I remember everything was so perfect. I mean, the parks were incredible. Yeah. The library was amazing. We took Arlo to the library, we went shopping, and the food. And this sounds horrible, but I was like, I want a crack in the sidewalk. Where are the criminals? I want to see them. I was like, there's something, I need a yin and a yang. And I was like, I needed like a darkness to the lightness, if that makes sense. Like,
it makes so much sense.
Yeah, I don't know. And maybe that's a personality issue, but I felt the same way. I missed that like, that like wildness of a place.
And then you came to the Algarve.
And here we are.
Yeah, actually, because after 8 years of that, which is, a lot of cleanness and perfection in some ways, but there's a dark side to everything, or a shadow, let's say. The shadow to all that is that I felt that the society was very homogenous and there's not a lot of creativity and expression encouraged. And COVID happened. And then when we came here as a family of 4 just to visit, I remember feeling immediately like, oh, so much color. I also felt more at ease. So actually this part of the Algarve, the southwest Algarve, reminds me of Northern California in the 90s.
I've heard this from so many people.
Have you?
Yes, you're not the first person to have told me this. I've heard this from so many people. So that the comparison. Yeah.
What it means to me is that there's such a mixture of people. There's such a relaxed feeling. I don't sense a lot of materialism. I know that there are some materialistic threads of people or pockets, but I don't feel it as a main quality of the society here. I feel like your friends can be super humble or super wealthy and we're all just hanging out all together. And some people have like dumpy cars and some have nice cars and nobody really cares. This is what I feel, at least. And that reminds me of Northern California in the 90s. Like a lot of focus on nature. It's not about what you have, it's who you are. And if you're stressed and uptight, people will encourage you not to be, it's not like you feel like you need to adapt and become more stressed and uptight. It's the opposite. It's like,
that's so cool. I feel that as well. I don't think I've ever thought about it, to be honest, until you just said it. But I feel the same way. Yeah.
Like it's a part of the world that encourages you to be a better version of yourself. That's how I feel. Like more calm, less materialistic, right?
So I completely agree with everything you just said. And I'm actually happy you described it that way because I'd never thought about it. I know you're describing also the relation to Northern California in the 90s, but it's interesting because I feel that, and when I say this, I don't mean it as offensive, but I feel sometimes that living here, and I've always felt that it's like I went back in time 20 years on all different aspects of Portugal, but it's my favorite part about living here. So I wonder if when you say California in the 90s, if that is maybe also kind of that whole related of like going back in time, kind of feeling like you're in a good way, in a good way.
It's hard for me to articulate why it feels that way, but for sure there's nostalgia that's wrapped in there somewhere. Like
That's so cool though, Kate. You kind of found that. Yeah.
I found it. You found it.
Yeah.
And I wonder if other people feel that when they're coming from, I don't know, anywhere, because you could feel it coming from Holland or England or the States, right? But just this feeling of life is slower here. So it's the slowness. Also the open-mindedness is a huge quality here that I appreciate so much. I think just any time where there's too much homogeneous lifestyle, homogeneous thinking is never like somewhere I'm going to feel at home.
I mean, just even thinking back to that fact that you just traveled around the world for a whole year. And I think that, and I've never traveled around for the whole year. I've done like 3-month trips through Central America. I've done, a couple of things where I've traveled on my own, but every time I go somewhere new, especially somewhere very unique, very different from where either I'm from or where I live, I always feel like it changes you a little bit. You get like a perspective on things that you feel very different, especially when you're really like staying with locals or really just experiencing something local. But I think that makes sense because it's almost like you feel a nostalgia to that time, but at the same time, you've had all these amazing adventures. So having kind of maybe a little bit of a mix of both here in Lagos.
Yeah.
And specifically Lagos, how did you find Lagos then from Sweden? You lived in Sweden for 8 years, so then you came here. So where did that come from? How did you find it? What was the transition?
When I was together with my ex and basically before we had kids, we would come to Portugal, even though we were living in Angola and Sweden, right? All those years. We would come to Portugal maybe twice a year or 3 times a year. just because this has become my home base. I don't go to the States very much anymore. Like I haven't been in 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah, because my parents live here. My brother lives in
your
Sweden.
parents are here as well?
Yeah, yeah. My kids are here. So I don't actually have family in the States anymore. And so Portugal has become my California. I know that sounds weird, but my home since I left 18 years ago.
I love that, Kate.
Well, it feels a lot like California, really. The coast and the climate and the kind people, Anyway, so we traveled around Portugal all the time during those years. And like imagine coming 3 times a year with vacation and, foreign salary. We could go on big road trips and stay in different places. And it was really nice. So I actually know the country really well. Little pockets, little small villages, beautiful sites. I'm really privileged to say that, and I'm so grateful. And so one of those trips was Lagos, Sagres, the whole Southwest Algarve, and then that's how I knew Lagos.
What was it about Lagos that was kind of like, okay, this is like if I had to pick, because you got to see a lot of pockets in Portugal, and there's some really beautiful pockets in Portugal, and I probably haven't seen as much as you, but I've had the privilege of being able to travel a lot around Portugal, and I love it. Like there's so many little places that I still feel like they're secrets, and I don't want anyone to know about them. I want everyone to know and nobody to know at the same time.
We will not name them on
we
this
will
podcast.
not name them. We will name them later. So, and I guess my question is, what about Lagos was kind of that place where was it that feeling because of the California feeling? Was it the coast? Was it the what was it?
I think it was the warmth that I really needed after 8 years of Sweden. Yeah. So honestly, I think it was, I don't think I could have moved to Porto, for example, because of course it's warmer and sunnier than Sweden, but I needed a lot of warmth and sunshine. And I guess maybe subconsciously also is this international community here where I felt like I could show up. Yeah, I already spoke fluent Portuguese, but I like to be around people who are from all over. I like to find like diverse thinking and experiences around me wherever I am. And so that's another part I think that drew me here.
You moved in 2020. So what was it COVID, the tipping point where you said, I got to get out of here. I got to move. Was that the drive?
At the time, yes, because I was working for a Swedish company and they allowed us to work from home. They required us, right, to work from home, basically. And so our thought was at the time, if we have to be inside working from home and I could be anywhere, I'll take the kids and my computer and we'll be, on the coast. And it was such a disruptive time, I think, for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know your COVID story, but I know that everyone has one. And it was either an amazing time or an awful time for most people. In my case, I would say it was just transformative.
Did you have your kids when you were here, when you moved?
They were both born in Stockholm.
Okay.
So I had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old at the time.
What was that transition then for them? At least I feel when you have the young kids, it's almost like you're home to them. So as long as they're with you.
Exactly. I think honestly, they don't remember that much. I mean, I asked them about it today because it was 6 years ago, right? And I say, do you remember moving here? Do you remember Sweden? And my youngest absolutely does not remember any of it because he was 2.
Right.
And Gabriel, at 4, he remembers just, snippets, little like feelings, or I think he remembers touching snow once, but it's fake. But it is easier to be here with children. I mean, that's another huge reason to come here for my mentality at the time. Imagine putting your kids in snowsuits every day for 10 months of the year, or flip-flops and shorts. It's just
different.
It's just
totally
different. You're a mom,
The truth is I can't speak to raising children anywhere other than here because all 3 of my kids were born here and they've all been born and raised here. But like when I go back to the States to visit my parents, so I go every 2 years to visit my parents. My brother's there and my sister-in-law and their son now too. I was like, can't leave him out. It feels like life is equally as beautiful in the sense that they love to spend their time with their kids and they're having such a good time. But I feel like I have less stress, and I don't mean that in a way because I think everyone's stressed no matter where you are. But I feel that the stress I have here is different than the stress I have of my friends back home that have kids in the sense of like the cost of it, the safety. I don't know, just those small things. It's like those are huge worries And they're worries that aren't as huge for me
Mm-hmm.
because I don't feel like I have them as much here.
I can't compare having children in the States to here, even though I'm American originally. I just compare Sweden to here. So it's different, right? It is safe in Sweden. It was not expensive to have kids.
Totally.
The state provides childcare basically from age 1. It wasn't those things, but I still think it's an amazing place to raise children. I agree. And then making a larger comment on comparing the American stress levels to life here. What I observe in my friends, at least, is so much less anxiety.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel that too, if it's universal, but there's something about being in the States and there's just a constant anxiety that I think we all feel, whether it's a fear of lawsuits. This is a thing. Like if
I never even thought
open
of
the
that.
door and bang your car and someone wants to sue me, I don't know, it just feels like
It's very litigious, right?
It's just a litigious culture. So there's this weird thing there. Imagine being a mom there and you have your friend's kids over and then the kid gets hurt and then they want to sue you. Like, I don't know. Just
I've never even thought of that. Those things, but that just even that thought stresses me out. I'm like, yeah, exactly. I guess I never even thought about it.
I guess, and I think if you were to live there now, you'd think way more about it because you're a business owner and a mom of 3 and all these things, right? Anyway, there's that, but that's not the number one thing. I think it's the healthcare and the violence and all these other things that you could just have to deal with in your system. And our nervous systems they'll try to handle anything that they have to, right? But if you don't have to deal with those stressors all the time, the body can relax in a totally different way. And I felt that having left the States actually when I was that much younger.
I think that's so true. I think what you just said is very true. And I haven't lived in the States in a very long time either. To be honest, also my parents during COVID moved to Naples, Florida. And I say that only because I truly feel that Naples, Florida is a bubble. So when I go there to visit them, I feel like I get trapped in this special bubble in the United States where I get everything's kind of great and wonderful and everyone seems to be laid back and whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I feel that way when I go there. But my brother, for example, lives in Philadelphia and all my friends and everyone I grew up with. And so when I go there, I feel differently than when I go to the bubble that my parents live in that they moved during COVID. And I think, for example, like you said, the healthcare thing, the violence thing, I do think that that's a very, very real worry. It's a worry when I go. I book health insurance for our entire family, which is not necessarily cheap because I always think if something happens, we'll be in debt for the rest of our lives. So I need to have this insurance because
that's the feeling.
Yeah.
I think that most Americans hold all the time, whether it's a lawsuit or a healthcare issue or violence issues. These are life altering things that could happen at any time where of course those risks exist elsewhere, but it is different in Europe.
That's such a good way to put it. But you just made such a good point because I didn't think about it from that perspective. I think about it when I go every 2 years, I book health insurance and I make sure we have it because I know that it will change. I will be in debt for the rest of my life if my child breaks their arm or something happens. And I have to pay for this and I have to make sure I have it organized. And I don't want to lie that the violence thing also comes into my head on a regular basis. What if we get trapped somewhere? What if we're at a playground? What if something happens? Because it happens, because it's true. And so I think that you made a really good point that if I never thought about it, that if that is kind of, even if it's in the back, even if it's filed away in a subconscious folder, it's still there. It doesn't really go away. I think you make a really good point. This episode is brought to you by Abigail's Cafe in Lagos, Portugal. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you had a meal that felt like home and tasted like a treat? Well, if you're in Lagos, let me put you on to Abigail's Cafe. It's that cozy spot where great food and good service come together effortlessly. From their specialty coffee to fresh juices and smoothies to homemade meals made from scratch, you can taste the difference. Whether you're stopping by for breakfast, lunch, or brunch, Abigail's Cafe in Lagos is the best place to be. You'll find Abigail's Cafe right in the historical center of Lagos, just near the Santa Maria Church, down a small street next to the Farmacia. If you know the area, you're already close. So next time you're deciding where to eat in Lagos, remember the name Abigail's Cafe. Okay, so you were here in 2020, and did you move directly to Lagos? I asked because I know a lot of people move to Lagos, but they say, oh, I lived in Gao, or I lived in Luge, or I lived in Sagres. Were you straight away to Lagos?
Yeah, basically. We rented a house in Salema for a few months. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, Lagos has been the base for 6 years.
So when you first got here, what was that transition like for you? I mean, you also moved during a pandemic, 2 young children. And we were obviously working for your Swedish company. So what was that kind of like when you first got here? Was it everything you hoped it'd be? Was it not? I mean, what was that kind of like?
It was pretty smooth. I guess I had already experienced moving to new countries before, and having compared like moving to Angola and trying to figure out just basic life there, and then moving to Sweden, figuring it out again. I was more comfortable by this time, like showing up. Okay, we need to register here. We need to. This is
You're like, I know how to be new here.
yeah. But I think it was pretty chill. Everything, all things considered, I don't remember feeling stressed about anything. You know, I had to buy a car. I hadn't owned a car or really driven for 14 years.
That's a long time.
It was a long time, and in fact, the first few months, I was like, oh, how do you do this again? Like driving stick shift.
Of course, yeah.
It just took a few weeks, I think, before I was accelerating. Like Portuguese style, like driving more intensely, you know.
Okay.
So that was the one big thing. But other than that, it felt relaxed. Of course, this is not Lisbon. So it's not like you can say moving to Portugal is like this. No, moving here, like your question was, Lagos, it's so calm here, you know.
It's different. It's totally different. You cannot compare moving to Lagos, Portugal to moving to Lisbon or Porto or any other city. I could not agree more with that.
Yeah. I had been in capital cities for 14 years before that. So, you know, it's different in that sense.
I do want to ask you, how long were you here until, you know, your businesses, which are now very successful? You have Arco Pre-Loved, which is your pre-loved clothing and the toys, which I love. The story is amazing.
Thank you.
And of course, the Arco Collective. I want to talk about them because they've had so much success. They've had such a contribution to this community locally. So I want to talk about, where did that come from? What was the idea? What was the drive behind? I think Arco Pre-Loved was your first concept that you opened before the collective, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, thanks for asking. They're basically the same concept, but there's like 2 wings of the same vision. I stopped working for my Swedish job because at some point they didn't allow us to be abroad anymore, right? After I think a lot of remote workers had to rethink. So then I thought, okay, I need to do something for myself. I did work part-time for other, you know, consulting projects and things, but in the back of my mind, I thought, I'd love to be an entrepreneur. I want to try entrepreneurship. I think I would be good at it. And I love it. I love being an entrepreneur.
Amazing. Yeah.
And it's so creative to be an entrepreneur.
Well, you're everybody.
Yeah.
You're all departments, especially when you start. Yeah.
What I really wanted to feel was this deep drive to wake up in the morning and get busy. And I have that. So the project, the vision from the beginning was, I studied sustainability. We know that children, you know, use things for a few months, sometimes, you know, a year, and then they're either too big for it or they've outgrown it, whatever it is, a toy, a book, an article of clothing. I had 2 small kids at the time. There was nothing in the area of nice quality secondhand children things. And I thought, cool, well, I'll do it. Why not? That sounds fun. And I've always loved thrifting, and of course, with my background in environmental studies, I understand really deeply how important it is that we rethink our whole consumption cycle. And I wanted it to be based on circularity more than just secondhand. So what does that mean? Secondhand, that whole business worldwide is often around taking articles that maybe, let's say, like Italy has a lot of, you know, stock of secondhand goods from all of Europe, right? Companies will send things there that they can't sell, and then those things get packaged up and put in bulk and shipped around Europe or even further, and then resold and bought and resold in this mass way. But it's better than being produced new or trashed, right? So I'm supportive of that, but I wanted something even more forward thinking, and I love the idea of the circular economy. So circularity is where we take our articles, but we keep them relatively local and with a mindset of a closed loop. Of course, it's not 100% possible, right? If a tourist comes into my shop and buys something and then they go back to Germany, that is no longer in the loop, but that's okay. The vision is that most of the articles in the shop are bought by local mamas and papas and grandmas and aunties. And then they are used for a while and then brought back in, assuming they're in good condition.
Oh, wow. Okay. So this was the vision from the start then.
This is the vision, exactly. Okay. So everything that comes in, my hope is that it is loved and used by that family, by those kids. And then hopefully well cared for. If it's in good enough condition, it's easier to care for things for longer, right? Because they're more durable. And then washed, cared for, brought back in, and I can give store credit for those items. And I've seen articles come in and go out and come in and go out. Of course, it's not all of them, but that's the vision, that it's possible to do that.
So when did your store officially open?
I think early April 2023.
Okay.
And before that, it was just
3 years now, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. So before I opened this shop, maybe you knew this because we knew each other then.
Yeah.
I was just doing pop-ups like out of my living room.
I remember.
Cafes.
Yes.
Yeah. I was really just beta testing, and I would say I've been beta testing until now. In January this year, I opened the shop in the marina. I am so proud of what it is now, what it's become. And until then, I feel up until that point, I was figuring out what this business is and how it could work. You asked about the Arco Collective. So that's the second wing to the business. The first is the circularity. So it's the articles, it's the sustainability. The second part is the community building. And I will say that in my essence and my nature, I've always been a community builder. I love to introduce people and connect people, and I see the synergies everywhere. It's like I can see it in the air when I'm in a group of people. Like, you need to meet this person. You guys are going to have this idea, this project. You're going to make this amazing thing happen, but people can't see it. So I need to introduce them, and I need to tell them.
It's like a gift. It's like a gift or like a talent you have. Yeah.
Yeah. I figured this out recently, maybe the last 5 years or so. But everywhere I go and everywhere I've moved in my life, I'm a social person. I meet people, but I love to connect them. It's not really about me. It's about the power of people gathering and the synergies that can happen from that. When I first opened the shop, in the beginning, it was, there are going to be people coming to the shop, mostly moms, and that will be great because I will always be a place. I want my shop to be a place where mamas and young babies can come and they're always welcome. So the sense of inclusivity is central, but there's more to that. There's also, you're welcome, but I can even find ways to foster you meeting each other, all these lovely mamas who come in. It started out just with mamas. That's why I'm being actually careful with my words.
I say that only because I associate you. Well, I also know when you opened because I used to go into your shop when Maya was really little as well. But I remember you also having that as specifically with moms as a big part of your community.
Yeah.
But I imagine it's changed.
Yeah. Well, so the reason I originally wanted to be just about mamas, or that's not just about, but focused on mamas, was because of my own experience, right? So
I wanted to ask you, did you was the drive also coming from something you felt was missing? Like when you got here, were you like, gosh, I need friends. I need support. I need help. Like is that kind of where it stemmed from?
It came from actually becoming a mom in the first place. So I actually think no matter where you live in the world, becoming a mom, so the process of matrescence is so radical that nobody can really prepare for it. And some communities and cultures prepare mothers better than others. But certainly I was not prepared. And I think a lot of European, North American friends also say the same thing. Like, nobody told me that you're going to feel and think and act and your life will be completely altered. I wouldn't say different, but things will change. And you need community around that of people who understand you. So you can have, for example, when I had my first child in Stockholm, I had lovely best friends around me and they came to visit me, but they didn't have kids. And so there was a feeling of a deep yearning to connect with other moms, and not in exclusion to my existing friends who were not moms yet, but I needed to feel that solidarity of, I hear you, I know, I also experienced that. And that's what I wanted to create with the Arco community is, you might have friends and you might have a huge network and great family, but do you have mom friends?
That's so beautiful, Kate. That's such a lovely idea. That's so beautiful. As a mom as well. I can even get choked up even thinking about it, just because as a mom as well, and we both have kids. I have 3 kids, 2 kids, but it's so life-changing on so many different levels when you have a child. And I can say, that's how I feel about it. The arc of a human you become after you have a child, and I think this is true for men as well, not just women, you change.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, physically you change, but mentally, like you are not the same person. I don't think you can be the same person. I think it's almost impossible.
The metamorphosis.
Totally. Yeah. It's like a shedding of a skin and becoming this like other person where you're still you, but a different you.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful that you're also trying to connect those people to have, because I did not have that when I had my first as well. I had I really didn't have friends at that time, to be honest, local. I didn't have any local friends. I didn't have my family wasn't here, obviously. So I think that's very difficult for any new mom because you're responsible for this human. I mean, it is entirely your responsibility.
Yeah.
And then you have to, but you're also exhausted and you're also doing everything and giving your entire human self to this person. I remember also my son being so like a baby. And I was like, I need a smile. I need something from you. I need you to acknowledge something because this is so hard. And
it can be so boring to be home with a baby.
So exhausting.
Yeah.
And so exhausting. I mean, like the not showering and you just don't change because you're like, I haven't left and I'm so tired. And I remember the first time he smiled at me and I was like, yes, okay. Like, you know me. And it was like the most heartwarming experience. And even like, it's so vivid in my memory because it was such like a core memory of mine that I think that is so beautiful. And I think other moms want to share that.
Absolutely, Abby. And I studied a little bit of anthropology in college, and I've always been really drawn to women's circles and women community. And one thing I know to be true is that women have never been isolated like we are now in all of human history. So it's the most unnatural thing in the world to be home with a baby in your apartment all day, every day. That's horrendous. It's not natural. It's not healthy. No wonder we have so much, maternal depression.
Yeah.
So much isolation, anxiety in today's culture. But I'm specifically talking about motherhood, right?
And what do you think is the reason for that?
Modern times, without the awareness that we need to provide an anecdote to that. I think it's just ignorance mixed with modernity. Really, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear a sociologist analysis, right? But I wanted to create a space. So the idea of third spaces really resonates with me, something that's not home, not school, not work, where people can come, mamas can come and just hang out. So all of my shops, I have had like little, temporary locations until now, have always had a corner where mama could sit with the baby and a toddler could play with a little dollhouse or a little train set or something. So that there's a space where you're welcome. And I always tell everyone, just come if you want to be here. It's okay. You don't need to shop. Just come be in this space and I'll introduce you to other people. And I always do that.
Have you been able to introduce other moms? Have you had stories where you say, oh, wow, I've been able to connect these two moms who really needed each other or needed that moment?
I am so grateful to say that my efforts have been appreciated by several people. I mean, I've been told by one mom I'm thinking of now. She said that when her new baby was born, she moved here to be closer to her parents. She didn't know anyone. She came into my shop and immediately I connected her to whoever was there. And also through my WhatsApp community, which has really taken off. And she said, it was really life-altering for her to have come in that day and made the connection she made. Now she has her whole group of friends, her mom friends, all with babies her daughter's age, because she came in that day. And I feel so honored. I mean, it was just por acaso, right, by chance, but
Kate, that's amazing. I mean, that's also, the fact that you had this vision and then genuinely you put that vision and you brought it to life in real life. And that's also, I'm genuinely happy for that mom as well. As a fellow mom, I'm so happy for that person. So I think that's amazing. That's beautiful. And also what an important part of the community. I can't imagine any mom in the world not saying, wow, what an amazing contribution to the community. You spent so much time in environmental studies and you did, you worked for a company in Sweden remotely, in Angola. Do you miss it? Do you want to go back to it? Are you so happy you left it? And I say this because I know you've gone through a lot of little spaces until you have your main space, which also, I'd also like to say speaks to the success and the vision of your plan for your own business, because there is no way that you would have this much success or find such a good space without that local community behind you, which you obviously have everyone behind you for what you're doing. So
thank you.
I I want to know, now you've obviously gone through ups and downs throughout this process. And so I kind of want to know, was there ever a time when you're moving spaces or when things are happening and you're like, what have I done? Or this is, why have I started this? Or, okay, I'm just going to push through, was there ever times when it was difficult and you're thinking, I'm so driven by this, but oh my gosh, today is not my day, or this week is not my week?
I appreciate the question. I think every entrepreneur will have some version of this, but I also want to say that yes is the short answer. But I also started so micro on purpose because I knew there would be bumps in the road, and I knew that I would constantly increase my investment, my time. So I only started 3 days a week, like kind of part-time days. I started in like a half location where I shared the shop with someone else. So I kind of protected myself from big lows by doing that like inching in approach. And it's not everyone's entrepreneurial style, but that was the right thing for me also with small children. But yeah, for sure. There have been times like, it's a retail shop with a concept that doesn't hugely resonate yet with Portuguese society. So this is like something also I'm on a bit of a mini mission to help Portuguese mamas and papas. Maybe younger ones already get it, but definitely 35 plus don't really embrace secondhand. And I'm hoping that they can see that there's beauty in it as well. It's not maybe for everyone, unfortunately, but there's that part of it too. However, there have been days where nobody came to the shop. I mean, it happened once or twice. And those were the days where like I call a friend crying afterwards, like, what am I doing? Like, this isn't a volunteer job. I have to support myself through this. But I'm grateful to say that those days are few and far between. And it's been a long time since that happened. So now it's in the new location, especially just a wonderful flow of people. Some days better than others, like any business, right?
Yeah.
With open doors.
No matter what. Yeah. No matter what business you're in. I think that's very true. Well, it's exciting because it's a success story and it's a local success story. And I think that's very unique. I think it's very easy to come here and also work remotely for a company outside of this community. Because first of all, the salary is most likely better. You have a lot of freedom. You're able to come and go. And I think that that's very common. And I think that's very normal, especially I would say the last 3 or 4 years, a lot of people have moved here from various different places. And a lot of them do work remotely or have a business outside of this community. So I very much commend people who open a local business here as a local business owner, because it's not always easy and it's not always beautiful days, but it's also it drives you. You know what I mean? It brings that drive. So I commend you. Congrats on your success, Kate. That's
Thank
amazing.
you,
I'm
Abby.
so happy for you.
I would definitely just like to add that point, which is it's a privilege to be here. And I think that if you move to Lagos and you have the ability to work remotely, fine. But please find your way. This is a plug to everyone like who's moving here from other places, that find your way to give back to this community, because, the locals also, they suffer and benefit from foreigners coming here. There's both things.
Totally, yeah.
I really want to show honor and respect for those who have always lived here and continue to live here, because it can sometimes feel maybe too much for local people to have so many foreigners here.
Yeah.
And I'm very sensitive to that. So Arco is my shop, right? It's my community, and I'm supporting moms, both foreign and local. But I really hope that everyone can find a way to give back to the community, whether it's your business or a project or something. It's so important.
Yeah. I also very much agree with you that it is a privilege to live here. I feel very lucky. I feel very lucky to live in Portugal, but I feel very, very lucky to live in Lagos. And I think it's such a unique place. And I think it's such an amazing community. I think that all of us are very similar. I think all of us have a lot in common, much more in common than we realize. And I think the more we talk and the more we realize, we go to our stories of how we got here or what happened since we got here. And even speaking to locals who, I know Portuguese people who came from Lisbon that moved to Lagos, those stories, I'm like, oh, wow, we actually have more in common than I realize. And so I find that really, really interesting and really fascinating. So I'm really happy you shared that. I want to ask you, I always end the podcast with the same question. If you had to go away for like a long weekend, doesn't have to be a long trip, but a long weekend somewhere that you find to be your special place, I want to say, in Portugal outside of Lagos? I always ask everybody this. And now that I know that you've traveled all around, I'd like to know, where is yours? What is your, I mean, if you had to be like, I just want to get away, I want to go away, where would it be?
And it has to be in Portugal.
Has to be in
Can't
Portugal.
be Spain.
Can't be Spain.
No. And I
but
love
you can give me that content later.
No, because it would be Portugal. Am I kidding?
Has to be Portugal.
There's not one place I have in mind right now, but I did go away recently to Sesimbra, which is a little village, small town south of Lisbon, and the Serra da Rábida, which is right, around there, is absolutely magnificent. It reminds me a lot of Brazil, actually. Forested cliffs. It's just magnificent, and the beaches are beautiful. So I will definitely go back there. And the fact that it's close to Lisbon too makes it a 2-in-1. So you can do like a city day, and then you can go and spend a night or two in this. It was absolutely magnificent if you haven't been.
Oh, I love that. I've never been to Sesimbra, so now I have to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's kind of close. So you could spend like a night or two. So you could kind of, I mean, everything in Portugal is kind of close.
Yeah,
so.
No, it's just about half an hour plus from Lisbon south. So from here, it's on the way-ish up.
I love that. And one last question. You have to only pick one. Your favorite thing about Lagos?
The beaches.
It's almost an easy question.
Of course, there's so many things I love, but I love the beaches. They're so beautiful. They're so beautiful.
And they really are unique. I mean, you can travel and see beaches, but you're like,
after living here, you don't see beaches anywhere else in the same way. You're like, that's nice, but ours are really nice.
I know. I feel the same way. And then when I go, I'm like, I'd rather go to a city or the country because nothing will ever be as beautiful as where we live.
I'm sorry to give this sort of predictable answer, but it's the first thing that really comes to mind. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Well, Kate, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for also sharing your story and everything. It was amazing. Congrats on your success.
Thank you.
And
so much.
we will follow for more to come.
Can't wait.
Thanks, Debbie. I hope everyone really enjoyed this episode with Kate. I truly, truly enjoyed this interview and speaking to her about her story and her adventures that she's had of traveling around the world for a year, living in Angola, living in Sweden for 8 years before even arriving here in Lagos, about her giving back to the community, this local community in her own way through her company. And something I also would really like to focus on, and I want everyone to take away from something that Kate said, and I feel the same, is we truly, truly are privileged to live here in Lagos, Portugal. This community is so incredible. Anyone who's thinking about moving here to Lagos, I hope you listen to this podcast because this is a very unique and wonderful little corner of the world. And I hope you enjoyed the episode. Deja.